Rajni, what's wrong?
Tom, I have a script and I don't know what to do with it. Should I burn it? Feed it to my cat?
You need some writers group therapy.
Hello, and welcome to Writers Group Therapy.
I'm Tom.
And I'm Roshni. We're writers helping writers. Ready for your session? The doctors are in. Okay, I just have to get this off my chest. I'm so sorry. You know, in our writers group, I'm kind of like the grammar police. I feel like I'm so harsh on our writers about grammar, but...
You've got the red pen.
Oh, but it's so important, and I feel like people just... I don't know. They don't understand why it's important, maybe, so they don't pay attention to it. But it's so important.
It's usually, for me, it's just I'm rushing to get my script ready for the meeting, so I haven't actually proofread it very well. It's like first draft, no proofreading. So I really appreciate your work on when you do that, actually, for me. I really do appreciate it. In fact, proofreaders are fantastic. If you know a good proofreader, they're worth their weight in gold. My mom actually has read all my scripts, and she gives really good proofreading notes. She's a writer also. She writes novels, though, so... But if you have someone who can help you with that, it's great because, you know, you spend so many hours working on a script, you're going to miss things. So,
yeah. I mean, I get it. You know, people have the occasional typo or whatever. I think what's interesting, and having gone through scene study, it made me appreciate grammar even more, proper grammar. But people don't realize how important punctuation is in a script. So how you write the dialogue tells an actor how to read the lines, which actually gives the writer a lot of power. And I don't think writers realize that. So, like, as an example, let's say you have a script and the line is, "Hey, Jill." So if you have "Hey, Jill" with no punctuation, I can read that a bazillion ways. But let's say you want it to be like, "Hey, comma, Jill, exclamation point." Suddenly that's, "Hey, Jill." Or maybe it's, "Hey, period, Jill, period." That's, "Hey, Jill." You know what I'm saying? Based on how you punctuate it, you're telling me as the actor how you want me to read that line, how I'm feeling about that line, how I'm feeling about that other person even. And it's all just based on the punctuation.
yeah, I can see how that's super critical. And from our writers group, I've learned a lot about that. You've always been very good about pointing that out. In fact, I was on the other side of it recently because I have a director friend who wants me to help her with her project, and she sent me the script, and I'm like, oh my God, she went comma crazy. Like, she put commas where you don't even need commas. So that would throw any actor into a tizzy. Like, what am I supposed to do here? There's commas everywhere. But I helped her out.
How many pauses?
Yeah, I proofread it for her and fixed all. You know, I probably took out in a full feature-length script a couple hundred commas. So.
Oh, that's hilarious. I remember I have a friend, real sweetheart, and it might be a generational thing. She texts, when she writes her text messages, she likes to draw out the words. So it'd be like, "Hey," with like 5 Y's, "you" with like 5 U's, right? And it's fine in a text. You know, it's funny, it's cute, you get it. But she would write that in her scripts. So it'd be like, "Hey, you." And I'm like, okay, do you want everyone to sound like Dory doing whale speak from Finding Nemo? Or did you just write it like that because you just like writing like that? You know what I mean? And it's like fine if it's 1 or 2 lines of dialogue and you get it, but if it's the whole script, I'm like, so we're all just doing a Dory now? Like, I'm really, really confused. Again, proper punctuation and grammar.
Yeah, if in a script, if there's a style you're trying to, you know, get a character to use, you're going to describe the character in that fashion, and then the actor will portray it in that fashion. Like you say, Brooklyn accent, you know, obviously that's going to change how the lines are read. You don't have to write it like a Brooklyn person would say it, you know. And I've done that before where I've written things. Well, actually, for my animated script, you know, I wanted certain words to be said funny, different than they're supposed to be, so I wrote them out that way. You know, that was on purpose. But otherwise, if it's just a character thing, you just establish that character, and then the actor will bring that character out in the way they perform the lines without you having to literally phonetically tell them.
Yeah. And I mean, I'll be honest, like, I get it if you're just bringing it into the writers group and you just typed it out that day and you didn't have a chance to check it. But if you're submitting it for possible sale, if you're submitting it to a contest, for the love of God, please look over that with a fine-tooth comb. Know how to use your, Y-O-U-R, and Y-O-U apostrophe R-E. That's one of my biggest pet peeves. People mess that one up all the time. Maybe it's because, I used to be a journalist. That was my background. And they will throw out your resume if you had a typo in your resume or your cover letter, because they assume that you can't get basic facts right in a story if you can't even pay attention to that kind of detail in a cover letter or in a resume. So it's a big deal to pay attention to grammar. I want the job. Of course I'm going to make sure I spell a name right, or, use the proper style or something like that.
Yeah, and one of the problems with screenwriting is that screenwriting software is notoriously bad at grammar checking and spell checking. So you have to I actually take all my scripts before I finalize them and copy the entire thing into Word, and then use that spell checking grammar checker to go through it. And then when I find an error, I go back to the final draft or whatever I'm using for writing it and fix it in the script. So I just use it as like a secondary double check at the very end. I always prefer to have a human read it too, though. So
yeah. I mean, and there's always style books. Like, I tend to adhere to AP style, Associated Press style, just because that's what I'm used to. But I do know, like, for example, there's like Chicago Manual style. I think is it E.B. Strunk as well? Those are more like if you're writing a paper or a novel. But there definitely are style manuals that just help you with the grammar and just, tightening up your writing.
Yeah, it must be horrible. It must be horrible to be the guy who's got to proofread the Lord of the Rings scripts and the Star Trek ones with all the alien words and stuff.
Oh, I know, right? But I mean, I don't know. That's interesting. What you would do with like a made-up language, like if there's a master sheet of what the words all are and how you say them and stuff.
I'm sure they do.
Yeah. But if you don't believe me that grammar and punctuation are important, audit a scene study class. Because when they pick apart a script, you'll see it. I think I'm trying to remember. It might have been an Aaron Sorkin script that we studied, and he's great. Like, his stuff is really tight. But yeah, every single thing he does in that script, down to that comma, down to the ellipses, down to the whatever, it means something. It means something for that character. So punctuation's really, really important in his scripts. So. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's one thing I find interesting is people who don't know screenwriting as well will use a lot of ellipse to put in the pauses instead of using the parenthetical beat. Which how do you feel about that as an actor? Which do you prefer?
It's funny. I do put a lot of ellipses in mine. That's actually something people have called me out on. It's funny because beat to me is one of those things that you shouldn't overuse in a scene. So, again, this is now an actor's choice thing, and we've talked about actor's choice before. Comedy is fast. Comedy is like boom, boom, boom dialogue. But drama, you can, draw that out and have pregnant pauses everywhere until the thing gives birth. I mean, that's what drama is. So you don't really need to put in a beat unless it's really, 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 really important to the scene in a dramatic piece, I would think. Because hopefully when the actors are reading it, they will slow that piece down enough to make it work. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I feel like if you put a bunch of ellipses in, you're trying to make them talk like Shatner. It's like, I must tell you the truth. So. I
feel like that would be a lot of periods. Like, hi, period, yeah. I am, period, trying to, period. I feel that would be, that kind of stilted thing would be with periods, not ellipses.
I suppose if you're doing a parody of Star Trek, you might do that. But so just one last grammar reminder for everyone: if you forget the comma, grandma tastes great. Remember that one? If you leave a comma out, it means something. Hey, grandma, this tastes great. Grandma tastes great. Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. Kind of like Eats, Shoots, and Leaves, right? The name of that book. And it depends on where you put the comma and it changes the meaning. Yeah. Oh, that's hilarious. I've never heard that one about grandma tastes great. Yeah. That's great.
Grandma tastes great. Grandma tastes great. Yeah.
So see, punctuation is important because what are we doing about poor grandma, right?
Poor grandma. Grammar and grandma. Just remember grammar and grandma.
So what do you guys think about proper grammar and punctuation in scripts and novels and anything? Big deal? Not a big deal? We're going crazy over here? Tweet it at us at WG Therapy. You can also find us online at writersgrouptherapy.com. And if you like what you hear, subscribe and share it with your friends. We'll see you next week.